Alpha Mind Power Online Live Classes by Srimatha Vijayalakshmi Panthaiyan. Phone 9841402000, 9841272146. Mobile app Alpha Mind Power.
Namaste. The human mind is a very dynamic thing. It keeps changing every moment, every minute, every day, and over a period of years, it does change quite a lot. I have come across some people who have this feeling of guilt. Today, I wanted to talk about guilt. Guilt is a feeling which comes in the mind when you realize that you have done something wrong or you have hurt somebody, which at that time you do not realize, but after some time, maybe after a few days or few months or few hours, sometimes few years also, suddenly it hits you that I should not have done that. Then it becomes a feeling of guilt. And there are many people who live with this sense of guilt, that something would have happened in their life. They might have done something wrong. And today when they realize it, it sort of eats their mind. They say, it's just eating me from inside. I am unable to live peacefully. So that is the state of mind of many people. I have met many people like that. And it is a great burden, a very difficult burden to carry throughout your life. Sometimes I'll just give you one or two examples. There are many that I have met, but just one or two examples. There was this one person who was in a job where he was getting transferred once in 2 years, 3 years. So every time he had to go to a different city, he never used to take his family with him because the children were small and they were studying. He did not want their education to get disrupted. So his wife and children used to stay in one city only. He used to go by himself, and whenever he got transferred, he used to work in those cities and then come back. So when he was working in a particular city, he was there for about 2 years. He was a bit lonely, and somehow he got into the habit of watching porn movies on the phone. It was not a good thing to do, but somehow he got into that habit. He was enjoying it at that time, and it went on for quite some time. But when he came and met me, he was beyond 60. He had already retired from his job. So what he was telling me is, this happened so many years back, I think about 10 years back. But he says, even today, even after I have retired from my job, now I am with my wife, and one daughter has got married already. Son is completing his studies. So it's a very good life. Everything is going as it should go. But this one guilt feeling in my mind that I did something which I should not have done. I should never have done that. I have made myself very impure. This feeling continuously eats my mind. He says, I am not able to enjoy anything in life. Everything is fine in my life, but I don't feel that happiness because every time I feel I have done something so bad, how can I enjoy this? So he was talking about this kind of a guilt feeling. Then there was another gentleman. He was around 55 years old, and he was in a job where he had to travel often to different cities, sometimes for 2 days, sometimes for a week. Sometimes he used to go abroad also for his work. And when he was traveling like that, in some city he met a lady and they became very close, and he had an affair with her. So whenever he went to that city, he used to meet her. It was going on for some time. And after that, of course, he rose to a higher level where he doesn't travel so much now. And he's got more responsibilities, and children have grown up. He's got 2 daughters and they are married. So he was telling me all this and said, see, today life is very different. I'm with my wife now, and it's actually a very contented kind of life. He's looking forward to his retirement. And that affair also ended. It's no longer there. But what he says is that guilt feeling is eating me. Every time I look at my wife, she's so good to me. She takes care of me so much. Every time she comes and speaks to me with a lot of love and kindness and a smile on her face, it hits me so hard. He says, I keep thinking about how I cheated her, how I had this affair. It goes on and on in my mind. He says, it is not allowing me to live peacefully. And then again, I have met younger people. Once there was a gentleman who was around 45 years old. He was talking about his school days. He said, those days I did so many things which I am ashamed of today. He said there was a close friend who used to study very well. He was a very studious boy. And he said, I stole one of his books in which he had written a lot. and I brought it home and hid it and never gave it back to him. He said that boy was desperate because the exams were nearing and he was going on asking everyone if they had seen his book. Nobody had seen his book. And he said, till the end I never returned that book to him. I was getting a lot of pleasure seeing him suffering, seeing him running around for that book. Ultimately, that boy had to copy from somebody's book and make a new book for himself. And then he wrote his exams, and that's how it went on. But he says, today I'm married, I've got children, I'm in a good job, everything has changed. And likewise, that boy also, he's saying, he also would have studied well, he also would have got married, he would have settled down. Everything would have changed. But he says, every time suddenly it comes to my mind, especially he says when I lie down in the night, sometimes I wake up thinking of him. Why did I steal his book? Why did I make him suffer like that? How could I take pleasure in doing those things? So this is eating my heart, he said. Now if you look at it, not only this, any other wrong things or mistakes that we make in life, when we actually do it, we do not do it with the understanding that it is wrong or that we are hurting somebody. Sometimes maybe we understand, but most of the time the mind is working in a very different way. Somewhere there is some pleasure in doing it, that's why people do it. But later on, when that pleasure dies down, then the realization comes that what I have done is not right. And once that realization comes, then the feeling of guilt also comes. Some people are able to just brush it off and say, okay, that day I felt like doing, so I did, but now I am a changed person, so it's okay. But many people are unable to brush it off, and they carry that burden of guilt throughout their lives, which is not good, which is not healthy, because guilt is a very negative energy. It's a huge burden. It drains away the mind energy completely. And when a person is holding on to some guilt in his mind, he can never enjoy anything in life. He becomes overburdened by that guilt. So what can be done about it? Now supposing it is something like you took some money from somebody, did not return it, you cheated somebody, or you stole, like in this case he took away the book from that boy, something like that. If it can be atoned, if you can return it to them in some way, if it is possible, you can do. But even this book cannot be returned. After so many years, that boy doesn't even need that book. But if it is something which you cannot atone for now, you can't undo it now, then the second best thing that you can do is sit in meditation. When you go to the alpha level of meditation, the subconscious mind is open. At that moment, you can think of the person to whom you wish to speak, to whom you did something wrong. Speak to that person's subconscious mind, ask for forgiveness, and tell him how you feel bad about whatever you did. That can give you a big sense of relief. It may go and reach that person's subconscious mind. Whether he will be able to perceive it, we do not know. But for you, it will be a great sense of relief. And even after doing that, sometimes the guilt feeling may abate a little bit, but then the influence or the imprint may still be there in the mind, and the pain may still be there in the mind. If it continues like that, there is a very simple therapy which can help. I have developed something called music therapy, in which I give about half an hour's music, and within the music embedded, I give certain affirmations which can create a positive change in the mind. So when a person listens to this music with headphones in a lying down position, he goes into a deep level of meditation. The subconscious mind opens, and the affirmations which I have added there in the music, they go into the subconscious mind and they remove the guilt from there and relieve the person. So there are many ways in which we can get rid of such negative emotions. One should never live with negative emotions because you tend to carry them throughout this life. So in some way, try to get rid of negative emotions and become free in your mind.